Hello and welcome in to another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. We are connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. You know, we love to do these when we can, the epic Calcio crossovers. Actually, I was out of town the last time you guys did one of these a few months back. Frank and Richard held it down with Jerry. We are crossing over live here with the Serie A Sitdown crew. We've got Frank Crivello in the house, Mr. FTC_21. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. It was more of a takeover.
It was.
It was more of a takeover. We came in and we hostile took over, and we realized, well, if it was gonna be a regular thing, we were gonna have to hang out with Jerry a lot. So we gave it back to you.
Yeah, and Jerry liked you guys. He tried not to let me back in. He changed all the passwords to the podcast hosting site. I couldn't get on anything. It was like getting locked out of your own house. I mean, he was trying to hand it over to you guys. We also have Richard Kharman with us, of course. Frank and Richard do an awesome job together on the sit down. Richard, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, and just to make sure the listeners know we're crossing, podcasts. We're not crossing streams here, so just make it clear.
Which would also be okay. Listen, I missed.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I've endured this long pandemic. I feel like I haven't seen hardly anybody up close these last several months, this last year plus. And of course, Jerry Mancini, of course, is with us. I'm Alex Donno. My co-host Jerry is here. Jerry, we missed you. We had an episode midweek. Daniel Lucci sat in for you on our new Patreon page. By the way, you guys, you can see the scroll down low. We just launched the Patreon a few days ago. We provide exclusive content as well there. So go to patreon.com/Calcio Connection and check us out. We appreciate everybody. So Jerry, you missed the victory lap because when Lucci and I were on together over what was that on Friday or Saturday? All the days freaking run together now. Friday, I think. We were going to give you the forum to celebrate Ciro Immobile scoring for Italy from open play for the first time in a year and a half. And then Jerry was a no-show. He took a nap during the episode. So, Jerry, I will give you the opportunity a few days late and $1 short to celebrate Ciro scoring a goal. Now, that Northern Ireland goalkeeper is absolute trash, but still, it was a good run, a good individual effort, a good goal. I mean, individual effort, he did have a good assist from Mancini, a ball that played him open very well. But we saw the way Ciro celebrated. Jerry, how did you celebrate that goal?
You know what? I went nuts, and my father-in-law basically said, "Why are you screaming? Like, settle down." And I'm like, "Well, it's not because Italy scored; it's because Ciro scored. Like, there's a big difference here." I said, "But you know what? I don't care who he scores against. I don't know. I don't care how he does it. Whatever gets you going to get your confidence up, just to get some strong form." I'll take it. I don't really care. But
Be honest. He said, "Jerry's, this is a Tim Hortons. Calm down."
But you know what? Credit to the Laziale, who provided a good stat. And since Mancini has taken over, he's got 4 goals. He scored 4 goals under Mancini, and he only chose Belotti with 7 and Jorginho with 6. And I think this is a little encouraging if you are an Immobile supporter, or if you're just in general for an Italian supporter. Maybe Mancini is the guy who can get the best out of Immobile moving forward into this Euros and getting him playing confident and making those runs that maybe we haven't seen prior to Mancini taking over. So maybe we have a manager here that actually understands how to use Immobile and get the best out of him. And I noticed that every time he plays with Italy, I'm saying in recent times since Mancini's taken over, he's looked like a much more confident striker. And I love to hear what you guys think. But in the past 2 games, even though he didn't finish on Sunday, he should have scored yesterday. I do agree.
Yeah, could have.
I do agree he should have scored. But I'm also happy that he's creating chances off the bench in 10 minutes. He had good looks. I would have been more encouraged had he had scored. But in a game where there wasn't really much to be excited about from an Italian standpoint or Italy standpoint, I was pretty happy what he was able to do off the bench and give some energy.
Yeah, and listen, and I want to bring Frank and Richard into this as well. I think for Immobile, I mean, obviously his lack of goals for the Azzurri, I think part of it has always been formation. I think there is a part of it though that is confidence based. I think in certain senses, if he can keep breaking that goal drought more often, even against lesser competition, because obviously, Northern Ireland is not in Italy's class. But even if he can keep scoring goals in that shirt, for the games that these are World Cup qualifiers, but these aren't as important as games in the Euro or as important in the World Cup next summer. But if he can keep scoring goals, my hope would be that it would add to his confidence, because I do think that's a big factor there. I mean, what do you think on this, Frank? As far as Cheeto getting an elusive goal, first goal from open play for him in a year and a half, we saw the way he celebrated. Do you think this could be a sign of things to come for him in the Azzurri shirt?
Well, I mean, it's been a struggle for him, not just with the national team, but also with his club. I mean, so it's an important goal for him on both fronts. I gave Jerry a hard time saying he scored at the near post. It was poorly covered by Peacock Farrell. But
he was bad on the other goal too. I mean, I thought on the on the goal that Berardi scored, he was poorly covering the near post there as well.
Yeah, but when strikers are in a crisis for form, when they're short of form, you'll take anything. Okay, you'll take anything, and the beautiful thing about that is that it counts just as much as a goal that would make our goal of the week. Right. Over at the sit down, they count the same. So that's a thing that you have to keep in mind, and it's a huge thing from a confidence standpoint too for Cheeto. Having said all of that, I don't know who Italy's striker should be yet. I think Cheeto is getting closer. I think statistically he put in a good performance against Northern Ireland. When he came on as a substitute against Bulgaria, he put in a serviceable performance. I last fall clamored for Francesco Caputo to be the starting striker for the national team, not because he's probably my cousin, but he is a striker he is a 4-3-3 type striker. He knows the runs. He knows the positioning. He would probably make a stronger target hold-up guy, for runs that are coming off from guys like Berardi and Insigne. But as time goes on, that chance is just going to get away from him. Some of it is he's had some injuries, that he's had to deal with over the last several weeks. So Cheeto is getting closer to cementing that striker position, but it's still not a position that I'm sold that we're great at the international level. And I think that, tactically, Immobile and Belotti are a bit of a square peg in a round hole in this national team. Okay. And can Mancini get them to transition? Can he get Cheeto used to seeing, two guys trying to come into the box now instead of one, what he's used to at Lazio, whether he's complemented by Correa or whether he's complemented by Caicedo, and then the trail run is coming from Sergei. Now he's got guys to each side that are trying to get involved and they're trying to get it all sorted out. So it's a little bit of a challenge. It's a little bit of a transition. And then the issue on top of that is that he's in the 2-forward system, and so is Belotti, so much more often than they are when they come into this national team system. So it's all of a sudden they have to relearn it. So I come away with these last two games saying Cheeto has probably stepped closer toward earning the 9 in this setup, but I still think it should be open. I'm not completely convinced yet.
Yeah, I agree with you that I would expect that Churro is going to be the guy, but I just based on what we've seen, even under a great run under Mancini, because we should mention they're unbeaten in their last 24 games. I mean, that's even if they're not earning the style points every single match, that's really, really hard to do in international competition, to be unbeaten in 24. So it's great what they're doing. Of course, strength of that team being from goalkeeper to defense, and the midfield is awesome, but they really just lack the potency at striker. So what do you think, Richard, about the prospects of Immobile grabbing that number 9 job for the Azzurri?
I think he did. It's open position, I think, right now. I think both Immobile and Belotti did themselves good by playing well these past 2 games for individually, both getting goals. So I think in that regard, it's showing that Mancini can maybe have some faith in them. I still want to see who he lines up in the big games, because in the big games he has not gone with Immobile, and that's going to be the big tell for me. When we start playing some of these bigger teams, when we play Switzerland, let's see what happens then, right? What lineup does he go with then? I mean, the midfielders around him are fantastic. If Berardi's going to play like the way he played, is he going to dazzle us like that? Anybody can be striker, really. I mean, probably fits Caputo better, but I mean, Immobile can score, Belotti can score. It doesn't matter. And if the pieces around the striker play at their potential, it doesn't matter who we put in, as long as they can put away some finishes. Now, granted, Immobile and Belotti missed some opportunities, some goals. I still think they're still legit strikers, right? Immobile is, the most pure striker we probably have in Serie A. So, yeah, it's still up for grabs. I don't think it's anyone's game right yet. And like I said, when the games get bigger, that's when I'm going to really pay attention to see what the lineups are, because you'll see when Mancini starts putting his stamp of his true 11. Locatelli hasn't had it locked up. He had a suspect giveaway in that first game, and then he played well. He made up for it and had a great goal on the second game. So, yeah, we'll see with Immobile. I'm hoping. I don't care who it is, honestly, long as they can score goals, long as they back some goals. That's the big thing. If you can put goals away, I don't care who starts. Bernardeschi could be striker for all I care. So,
Roberto Mancini had an interesting proposal for the Euros. Because squad size would normally be 23 players. 3 of them have to be goalkeepers, and he brought up the idea that they should really allow every team at the Euros to carry a 25 or a 26-man squad, for the simple reason of COVID is still a wild card. We're still seeing it around Europe. We're still seeing players through various clubs, including Inter not too long ago having multiple players testing positive. And, I don't know how far away, Europe is from being able to make vaccines available to football players. I'm sure that they're moving more in the direction of more and more senior citizens getting it. The rollout is maybe a little bit behind what we have in certain parts of North America. So I don't know if by the summer, if they would expect every player on every squad to be vaccinated. So to me, guys, this almost makes too much sense, Richard. The idea that you could be able to carry a 25 or a 26-man squad, because God forbid you have 3 or 4 players test positive, and even if you're able to isolate those players and not infect the rest of the squad, then all of a sudden your squad is a lot smaller than everybody else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it does make too much sense, right? If we were talking about Serie A, I would say there's no chance they would do it because it makes so much sense. But because we're dealing on a broader stage, I'm hoping they do that, because your point is correct. I think with that wild card out there, you don't know. I mean, it could decimate a team easily, and so if you don't have backups there, just in case, you could really hurt a team's chances. A good team, it could be like France or whomever, but if they lose like half the roster, or lose 5 guys, that's going to screw their opportunities, right? So I think they should, but we'll see. I guess the money. I mean, if they look at it at the money perspective, I think they will open their eyes and say, okay, we should do this, right? Because it could really hurt the game if they don't. But we'll see. I guess what happens.
What do you think, Frank?
I'd even kick it up to 30. These national teams call up a provisional squad in or around that number. You might as well take them all, to this competition. And then, on match day or the day before match day, you call up the 23 that can dress, and the other 7 have to, socially distance, sit in the stands or whatever the protocols are going to be for each nation. Because this is still, I haven't heard anything about any plans to not have this be a multi-nation event, because that's what it was originally planned to be. They might have to bubble this and limit it to 2 or 3 nations, but I would, you usually have a provisional squad of 30 that you trim down to 23 that you take to the competition. Pick the 30 and just take all 30 with you, and then you're calling up these 23 for this match, and then you might call up the same 23 for game 2, and if you've locked up a place into the next round, that third group game, 7 of those guys that you've been using that have been logging 90, 180 minutes over the course of 2 games, you don't have to dress them for that third game. So I like that idea. If you can have a bigger squad to work with and call up 23 for game day, that would be what I would do.
I like that. It makes a lot of sense. What do you think, Jerry? Is your long lost cousin Roberto Mancini, I think, made a pretty interesting proposal.
Not my long lost cousin, but
I think he might be related. Like, you have to trace back the family tree and see if he might be like a long lost uncle or something.
Jerry doesn't have his hair. He doesn't have the hair gene.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you're not related to him.
You know what? Anything that can prevent from games being postponed and trying to further what screws up the schedule, and then you have to remake the games later on, and there has to be ease for the competition to be completed. That I think that Frank and Richard basically hit it on the nail. Where I like what Frank actually said. 30 players is much better. You want a contingency plan. That's what you want. At the end of the day, to keep it simple and easy, you want a plan in place. You don't want to be scrounging that. Okay, for example, you don't want to end up like Simone Inzaghi putting midfielders as center backs, let's say. Seriously, we'll use that example where he's gone to a situation where he's had to play players out of position. You don't want the World Cup or the Euros, having players play out of position in the biggest tournament. Like, it shouldn't get to that. And if you can avoid it 4 months in advance, why not do it now? Hopefully they don't act like the Serie A, like Richard said, and their priorities are straight. And I want to just touch quickly on what you guys said about the strikers. And I agree with all what you guys said, that at the end of the day, I agree. It doesn't matter who's performing at number 9. As long as we have 3 formidable strikers up front, that's all that matters. If we can rely on rotation and anybody who can come in as a substitute, doesn't matter if it's not Immobile, if it's Belotti. I hate the haters. You don't think a player understands that he's being hated and it kind of gets in the back of his head and there's extra pressure? Like, you think it's easy to be a number 9? It's not easy because you may not be playing all game. You may not have one chance, okay? And all of a sudden, in the 90th minute or 80th minute, you get your first chance of the game, and you miss, it weighs heavily because you really haven't got involved in the game. Now, I know that there are circumstances every game and everything changes, but to be a striker, it's not always easy, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way. So I'm just saying, and not just for Immobile, it even goes for Belotti. And I think that a lot of the flack is being put too much on Immobile, and people are forgetting that Belotti and whoever else hasn't delivered just as much as Immobile hasn't either. So I think he's becoming more of a scapegoat, Immobile, if anything. But I guess that's how it goes.
And you know what? I think part of I always try to find the silver lining in things. I think part of him being the scapegoat is actually, in a way, a compliment, because people know what he's capable of, right? I mean, they know he's capable of being a multi-time capocannoniere and scoring goals for fun domestically. So when you make that the standard for yourself, and you're scoring, 36 goals last year, and he's broken the 30 barrier, tied the Serie A record. And people see what he's capable of doing in the club shirt, then they're going to expect something similar to that in the national team shirt. So, I mean, part of that pressure, I just think, comes with the territory of everyone knowing that Immobile is capable of scoring, and they just wonder why it doesn't happen more consistently in international competitions. But, something I want to go around the table on, this is not Azzurri related, but it does tie back to Serie A in a way. I have a feeling that Jerry is going to defend Cristiano Ronaldo here. This is rare. Like, this is historic. This never happens. But I want to give my take first. And I know, Jerry, you were, of course, watching this game from start to finish. I only caught the end of it because you were watching Serbia for
Yeah.
Did the Oilers?
He's a big Serbia fan.
Did the Oilers score, Jerry?
Yes. 2-2.
All right. Come on, Edmonton. I bet the Oilers tonight, and I'm the mush. Usually every time I bet Edmonton, they lose, and Jerry loves the Oilers. But Jerry, with Cristiano Ronaldo, he was robbed of a goal in that game. It went over the line clearly, and if they had been using replay and goal line technology, that goal would have counted. It should have counted. So I can understand why Cristiano was so upset. So I'm not disputing that. Like, I'm not disputing he had the right to be upset. I'm not disputing that Portugal got robbed in that game. I still think, though, that the way he reacted to it was absolutely classless. I mean, this guy, he always comes off as an entitled brat. I mean, you're throwing the armband of your country on the ground. And then I watched the comment on Instagram that his sister made, who was saying something. She said he intended to throw the armband in the referee's face. So it's like, come on, bro. Listen, like, I understand you're upset and you have every right to protest. You have every right to complain. I just think it's a really bad look when you're taking the captain's armband of your country and throwing it on the turf like that. I thought that was disrespectful to Portugal, and a lot of people feel that way. I know he's getting defended by the zombie Ronaldo fanboys who create 100 burner accounts and retweet everything. Like, he's getting defended by those guys, and he could murder someone and they would defend him, these accounts, okay? But still, Jerry, he had the right to be upset. He was robbed of a goal. What did you think of the reaction, though? Do you think it's fair to say it was classless?
Well, I'm going to say a quote, actually. I'm not sure if you saw tonight. It was Cristiano Ronaldo's sister, Katia Averio, and she basically defended him and said that he would throw the captain's armband at the referee's face.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of got in on Twitter tonight and said I'm going to backtrack and say I was wrong.
I didn't see that. My apologies.
I said throwing the armband is completely wrong. It's disrespect to country and team. In the referee's face, classless. When I saw that, I'm like, you know what? I vouch for him at hindsight because me playing ball hockey, I've kind of thrown my stick before where the last second of the game we scored and they disallowed it and you get upset. So I defended his emotion because it's human reaction. I don't care who you are. It's not because it's Ronaldo that I'm defending. It's more the individual. And I know a lot of people were bringing up when Milan got robbed against Juventus. And I'm going to be honest. I've only started watching football maybe four seasons now. So when people referred that game to me, it meant nothing to me because I wasn't really watching enough to understand what was going on. But I just think that it's human. You're pissed. You've seen the ball go over the line, and it kind of robbed you of a win. And it's for the Euros. Sorry, for World Cup. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of significance for this game. Maybe in hindsight, maybe down the road, Portugal doesn't win the games that they're supposed to, and that game comes back to haunt them. And those 2 points could have helped them qualify for the next round. Who knows? But I do agree that throwing the armband now, thinking back, it's kind of disrespectful to your country and to your teammates. And just walking off with 30 seconds left or whatever it may be, it doesn't show that you're a real leader to your team. But again, you can look at it both ways because in that position, it's tough. But I guess when you're a veteran and you've been in the game for 30 years, 20 years, I guess you would know better, but sometimes you don't.
Yeah, just what always rubs me the wrong way about him, and I'm not even like I know it's easy. Look, the Interistas talking shit about Ronaldo. I talk shit about this guy long before he ever got to Juventus. Okay, he always seems to me like he's so spoiled and entitled, and I know he's one of the greatest players ever, but he acts as though the rules of decency don't apply to him sometimes, and it rubs me the wrong way. What do you think, Frank, about the way he reacted after that match?
I mean, it reminds me of one time when I played golf and I hit a great drive, and there's this big pond in front of the green and I have like a 90-yard shot to the middle of the green, and it's one of my gap wedges. It's just that's all it is. Hit it clean, get it on the green, and then put myself in position to make birdie. Right. Well, I hit it. I think it's perfect. Okay, it felt good when the ball left the club and all of this other stuff. But it lands at the front of the green and it spins back and it rolls the way down and goes into the water. I take the penalty. I put the ball down. I hit it again. Exact same shot. Felt great. All this other stuff. Lands on the front of the green, spins back, rolls down, goes into the water. I break the wedge over my knee. And sometimes you just get so frustrated you don't realize what you did, and there has to be some element of control, and then, Ronaldo's captain's armband is my gap wedge that I broke, basically. And except the only difference is I had to go spend $120 on a new gap wedge. So, but it's human. It's human nature to get frustrated when something doesn't go your way. Especially when you think it's right. And in this case, I understand Ronaldo getting frustrated getting robbed of a goal there that would have given Portugal an extra 2 points in terms of and bolstering their standing for World Cup qualification. They're going to qualify anyway.
Yeah.
But it's one of those where, just like me, got to figure out how to just channel that frustration a little bit better. I think I would be a lot more accepting of it if there was an apology from Ronaldo. But you rarely ever see him apologize for these things, and that's the thing that aggravates me. Go back to when he
That's a good point.
go back when he nearly took Alessio Cragno's eye out. He didn't apologize for that either. You didn't see anything on that. You didn't see, and then you got crickets from Juve supporters at the same time. Hardly even condemning him for it. So, that's the other thing that bothers me is that his fans will back him and they'll justify it at every turn. So, and I think that that's probably the bigger problem that I have with all of this than the actual actions themselves.
That's actually a great point on the lack of apology. What do you think about all this, Richard?
First of all, you guys are all doing it wrong, okay? You guys got to channel your frustration in other ways. So Jerry brought up hockey. I'll bring up hockey as well. I got so pissed off one time in a game that I took the opponent's stick and threw it over the glass. I got a penalty for it, but that's how you channel your frustration. And I didn't break my stick. I didn't have to pay for my own stick, so it worked out for me.
You probably should have paid for his, but
yeah, maybe. This is the Couch Connection, right? So I don't have to be partial in this one, right?
no, not at all.
2 words on my thoughts on what happened with Ronaldo. Soli Montari. And I know, Jared, you probably don't get that reference, but it happened to Milan, and it was a big game. It cost them the title, arguably. I don't feel sorry for Ronaldo. I don't feel sorry also because look what happened to Ireland a few years ago against France, right?
2010. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's right.
I don't feel bad. This stuff happens in football, and unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it. And now there's VAR. This VAR should be in everywhere. And I know it sucks in England, but on a world stage like this, and in other leagues, Germany, Italy, so many different leagues use VAR and is successful. They should be using it now, and there's no excuse not to be using it. And so, if you're not going to use it, this is going to happen. It's going to happen no matter what, whether it's goals, red cards, whatever. And I think until everyone brightens up and starts using VAR, I'm not going to feel bad when these plays happen. It happens. Can't do anything about it. His reaction was piss poor for sure. It's very unbecoming of a captain. Yeah, I get it. You're angry, but it was a hissy fit that he threw, and it was disgusting, honestly. And so, I don't like when it happens, whether it's my team or not my team. I don't care. When a lot of players these days have his mentality where it's all about them. Like, look at me. Forget that, man. Come on. Yes, it sucked, but
I don't want to only single out Ronaldo because, Jerry, your guy Messi can be a bitch too. It seems like every time he loses a game with Argentina, he retires from international competition, and then he comes back like, just kidding, guys, I'm back.
That's to avoid death threats.
No, he does that. He does that to get somebody in the front office fired, and once that guy's gone, he decides, okay, I'll come back.
That's true.
Yep.
But otherwise, when you see him lose, he doesn't have these on the pitch. At least I'll give Messi credit. He doesn't pout like Ronaldo does. He just has this look like he lost his last friend. Okay. Like it's the saddest sight. Like it's like what are you sad about? You're making $500 million.
Well, has Messi ever gone to this level of throwing his armband on the floor?
He's kicked the soccer ball at fans though at Real Madrid. Yeah. He did do that.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
It was crazy to see that. So it was on that level of Ronaldo's. So kicking the ball at someone's face.
Who cares? Oh no, I know.
That's actually worse. That's arguably worse.
No, I'll just say this.
Barcelona though. It's Barcelona.
Jerry, how many times has Messi retired and unretired from international competition? Like, what a lame tantrum. Like, I'm not going to play for my country anymore.
That I agree. That is lame. Hey, I like Messi, but I also don't blind myself like Ronaldo fan club, where I think, oh my God, Messi's the best thing in the world, and anything Messi does, it's by the Bible, and you can't do nothing wrong. Like, it's not wrong. I'm not that delusional, man. I agree with you what you're saying. You can't retire, come back. What is this, man? Freaking retirement home? I can come back tomorrow morning and I'll come back a year later? Like, what, buddy?
They're going to be like Pele and start making up goals then, right?
I'll just tell you this. Eric Cantona is out there thinking that both of them are soft.
That's a god right there.
Yeah.
So
when he actually kung fu kicked an opposing fan.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's
who's
way out of
Eric
the game.
Cantona? Sorry, people are gonna
Eric
laugh at me.
Cantona. You're doing. Wait
Look
a
up,
second.
look up
Wow.
Eric Cantona kick.
Hold on. You're writing and you're doing soccer podcasts and you don't know who Eric Cantona is.
Who's that? Seriously.
Oh my!
A
holy
god
God.
amongst
You're one
men.
you're one of those that I rip on that think this sport's only like 10 to 15 years old.
Oh man,
Who's Eric Cantona? Seriously.
he's a former player, a
Former
French
French
guy.
international, played for Manchester United. I mean, this guy was a flat-out baller.
Look
It
up
was
Eric
a shame
Cantona kick. That's all
Yeah.
you need to look up.
Yeah,
One of the great
Eric
videos.
Cantona Kung Fu kick.
Yeah.
What-
And just total baller. It was just a shame that France sucked in the early 90s
Yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
you would have known a lot more about him.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, if
I
he'd
mean,
been on that '98 team, wow, that would have been sick.
Hey, I always say on this pod, man, I don't know everything, and I don't act like I know everything. So I'm very honest to say that if I don't know something, I have no shame because I love to learn. And
Kudos to you
understand
for
more.
that. Kudos to you.
appreciate that.
I
appreciate
am not like the god of. That's why I read books and I try to learn more about the game. But I really like that you just said that, and that's why I like you guys in your show because you guys say things that are not everybody says every day. Oh, Immobile this or something that, or it's something different like that, and I appreciate that. So that's really
You
good.
get people at ESPN FC that are making like all-time teams, and they're made up of players from like the last 10 years.
Oh, it's so
It's
bad.
like-
Robertson from Liverpool is like, what?
Jesus,
For real.
I mean, like even get a book and read about the history and just throw a name from there in there and act like you tried. I mean, it's just
Or at least admit you're making a best 11 since 2010, not
Yeah.
a best 11 all time.
Yeah.
No, I
Mateo's
appreciate
not
that.
one of these. Mateo is not one of these people, by the way. Mateo knows
No.
his history. I want to footnote that. But
Well,
there's a lot of
also,
guys. where,
I'm wondering now. Three out of the four of us are in the United States. Jerry's in Canada, so I don't think the rights changed over there. But did you guys wonder with because Serie A rights in the United States are moving next season from ESPN and ESPN Plus to CBS and Paramount Plus? Do you think our guy Mateo is going to make the move? Because he moved from being sports to ESPN. I really hope that CBS brings him over because I don't want him to get stuck at ESPN when they don't have the Calcio rights anymore because he's not going to have a whole lot to do over there.
Yeah. I think hopefully they do like Derek Ray. Derek Ray, even though he's committed to like one station, he'll contribute to different places so more people can hear him. So maybe we get Mateo in that sense where they know his voice and so they want to use him more in different. Because I mean I'd love hearing him as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's awesome.
yeah, I
Can it-
think he does a solid job, and you hope to see it. And I mean, on the footnote, I was not bothered to see it go to Paramount Plus because I have that for the Champions League and the Europa League. So,
You know what I do? I'm so cheap that, and I'm obviously I'm going to get Paramount Plus now to watch Serie A. Like I can't avoid it anymore. But I watch all the Champions League games in Spanish. I don't know if I don't know if these are
Better
available
commentary.
wide, but down in Miami,
Agreed,
bro,
Richard.
we got more Spanish channels than English channels, and I can watch all
Yeah.
the Champions League games in Spanish. So I habla de español when the Champions League games are on. But I'm definitely going to get Paramount Plus now for Serie A.
and you get the whole Cheers. You get the whole Cheers librry on Paramount
Ooh,
Plus.
I do love Cheers. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's that alone is worth the price, the annual price.
I like
So,
that.
I just want to clear something before people think I'm like violent about how I said about Ronaldo.
They already know you.
About Ronaldo kicking a ball at a Real Madrid fan, which I didn't even know. That's amazing you said that. But I respect it because he's a Barcelona for life, and he just showed what Barcelona meant by kicking a ball at a Real Madrid fan. So that's the reason why I respect it. It's not right, I agree, but that's how you earn the respect of your fan base, maybe. Like, it
Yeah.
just shows you what Barcelona meant to you. If I was a Lazio player, I would 100% kick a ball at a Roma person, man. 100% if I was that kind of crazy guy. Oh, yeah.
If
Bro, this guy Jerry, I've seen video of him walking down the streets of Toronto celebrating Eastern Conference Championship, yelling, "Fuck LeBron!"
I have no shame, man. That was the day when I actually was on the Jumbotron twice at that game, actually.
No way.
Yeah, and I was hammered. And then my cousin was just a row down, and she got on as well. We were just I think that was the one day Frank would have loved me because I had like 9 beers that day, and I don't remember.
Frank would have killed you.
Yeah, Frank
Yeah, probably
he
so.
probably would have out-drinked me for sure, but
Oh, man.
it was
Mike,
a good day.
do I have a reputation out there?
No,
They're very afraid of you north of the border.
I ever come up there, they better have. If I ever come up there, man, that'll be a good time to buy stock and shit like Canadian Club and some of the other, some of the other Canadian distilleries and stuff like that, because there'll be an increase in consumption. I mean, the whole state of Wisconsin, that's all we do is drink and eat cheese. All right, that's
the rumors are true, eh?
Yeah. Oh gosh. We're the drunkest state in the country. There's, and it's not even close. Like usually there's like a top 10 of like America's drunkest cities. 7 of them are in Wisconsin. It seems like every year.
That's amazing.
That is awesome.
That's actually awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
And there was one year when Milwaukee didn't win it, and I told my 2 friends that were on duty in the Navy, I said, they didn't get it this year because you fuckers went on duty. So.
Hey, I want to give some love to the live chat. Gigi La Patate says, by the way, is this a real rumor? Like I can't keep up with some of the rumors sometimes. He says Milinkovic-Savic to Milan and Romagnoli to Lazio. None of that is legitimate, right? I know that Jerry is always watching the Savic rumors, but I think Gigi was just trying to get under Jerry's skin there.
I saw Luis Alberto to Milan and Çalhanoğlu going the other way, but I quickly
I take it all day.
I would take it, but I quickly blew it off. I was like, that's not happening.
No.
We just gave them Musacchio. I mean,
right.
They just put the Vaseline where you think they would put the Vaseline. All right.
You know what? I didn't
let those wounds heal before we send Çalhanoğlu over there.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't think Musacchio was bad in Serie A in the limited time that he played. He was a serviceable player in the back, but when you're putting him against Bayern Munich, you're asking to, you know what I mean? Like it's unfair. I think that the pass was bad. He shanked it. I get that part, but his overall game has not been completely horrendous. Prior to that game, he was showing good form. He had a few good games, and then as soon as he puts him in that position, and he played him on the left side, which he's not even he's not a center back, and he puts him on the left side, which he's not even playing he's not a natural left player too. So double whammy now you got, and it didn't help that you have Patrick playing at the back end as well, like another fucking useless player. So there was just one disaster after another, and that was it. But
I did want to comment on a transfer rumor that I keep seeing come up in Premier League Twitter, and I'll explain why I think maybe people are focusing on the wrong factor here. So I'm starting to see a lot from English sources of how Chelsea are very keen on Romelu Lukaku, and that the idea is that their first choice is Erling Haaland, who's going to be the first choice of a lot of teams, and that their sort of backup option is Lukaku. And a lot of the comments that I see in the British tabloids and such are about the financial peril of Inter and how they're going to be forced to sell Lukaku to pay their bills. Now, I think people are maybe focusing on the wrong angle here. I don't expect Lukaku to leave. I don't think it's impossible, but to me, if Lukaku were to leave Inter this summer, I think the deciding factor would be, is Antonio Conte back? If Conte were to resign, he's not going to get sacked unless there's I guess if there's a collapse for the remaining 11 match days for Inter, then anything's possible. But I'm actually expecting Conte to stay around one more year. But if he were to resign, then I could see Lukaku being open to a departure, because his glory times at Inter have been so associated with thriving under Conte's system and being the perfect striker for Conte. And so maybe if Conte left, Lukaku might consider leaving. Of course, I don't know the full extent of Suning's financial troubles. I can tell you that they seem to be relatively close to getting a large investment of outside capital, which I don't know if that would mean they would have a really active summer transfer window, but I wouldn't expect them to be holding any fire sales if they can secure, a decent, financial loan or a minority sale. They're also, very close to landing a new shirt sponsor, which would pay double or more, maybe even triple of what Pirelli has been paying in recent years. So I don't, and I can't say for sure because maybe we don't know the extent of Suning's financial challenges, but I certainly wouldn't expect them to be forced to sell a guy like Lukaku, who's really the cornerstone of their project for financial reasons. So I think maybe people are focusing on that. I also see some Premier League sites expecting Achraf Hakimi to be sold for 35 million, which is kind of laughable. So you trust these English tabloids about as far as you can throw them. It's some of the worst rubbish information out there. So my 2 cents is it's certainly not impossible for Lukaku to leave Inter this summer, but I think if people are just assuming it's going to be a sale because the ownership is in financial ruin, I don't really think that's the plot here. I think that the opportunity for him to go would be more likely if Antonio Conte were to leave. Then I could see Lukaku going because he might feel that, hey, I really thrived under this specific manager. If I don't necessarily trust the future project, I don't want to be part of it, and I can go to a number of clubs around the world. So that's my 2 cents on that. What do you think, Richard?
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. I think the only way Lukaku leaves is if Conte leaves for some reason, right? I don't trust the British tabloids either. I'm wearing a Frank Kessie jersey, and after the game, against United, they're like, "Oh, it's Frank Kessie guy. I don't know if you guys heard of him, but I think Chelsea's going to take him." It's like, who the hell are you? Like, get the hell out of here, man! Like, really? So I don't trust anything that comes out of the British tabloids. And yeah, that their job is to create tabloids like they do, and it's like a fine art the way they do it, right? But I don't take any stock in it. Like you said, unless Conte leaves, that's the only way I see fathomable for me. Especially if they win Scudetto, ain't it happening, man.
Well, and also, and this applies to the fodder about Kessie as well. I mean, sometimes fans have to say, hey, when one of your best players is being linked to a bunch of Premier League clubs, take it as a compliment, right? Yep. Because if you've got a player in good form, helping you achieve important objectives, what's going to happen are Chelsea fans, Man United fans, the tabloids are saying, hey, why don't they go grab that player?
Yep.
Because, because Premier League journalists and fans feel like they're entitled to any player they want in a foreign league. Like, oh, they all want to come to Premier League. So,
especially in the Farmers League, right?
Yeah, right. Well, what do you think, Frank?
I think Lukaku's form correlates with Conte's success. There's no doubt about it. But I don't agree that Lukaku and Conte necessarily have to be joined at the hip for Lukaku's sake. Because we've seen him be successful in other formations at other clubs, at Manchester United, at Everton, where he was the striker in a 3-man front, where here at Inter he's partnered in a 2-man front with Lautaro Martinez. So Lukaku is a special striker. I mean, he is elite in just about everything that you want in a 9. And because of that, he'll have the ability to adapt to anything. So if Conte should leave, I don't necessarily think that means Lukaku goes out the door. I think the next manager that comes in, if they want anybody of substance, that manager's probably in that meeting with Suning and saying, listen, if you want me, Lukaku needs to stay.
That's a good
because
point.
I'm going to be building this squad around him, okay, or around players like him, guys like Barella. So, Inter's performances are obvious when he's not in the team under Conte, but Lukaku is not dependent on Conte as a manager to be successful. I think he has done it at different levels. He has done it in different systems. And I mean, he even at Man United, he doesn't even need to be the central striker. He's played off to the right, for a period of time. When he's called up in the Belgian national team, there were moments where Roberto Martinez had him play off to the right. So even that is available. But he can play. He can adapt to any system. He's proven it, and I don't think that he's completely dependent on Antonio Conte to be successful for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I mean, I think for me, it just might be if Conte were to leave, it just might be his preference if he may not be a fan of the next manager. But I thought you made a great point though, that the next manager may say, hey, me coming is contingent on him being here and being the centerpiece of my project. What do you think, Jerry?
Well, you're still paying Spalletti, so I don't. And if Conte leaves, you're going to be paying him as well. So
not if he resigns, though.
I don't see him resigning.
I don't either.
take that. There's no way he resigns making that kind of cash, unless he knows that some other team is willing to pay up what he's making right now, basically, or more. Then you have, if a new manager comes in, you still have to see who it is first. And Frank's right. Necessarily, it doesn't mean that he doesn't fit in his plans. Like having a guy like Romelu Lukaku. So, like, Frank said a good thing on his show on last week. Prandelli, he leaves. Giacchini comes in. You can't bring a star manager in right now because no one's gonna take that freaking dumpster fire. Okay, let's be realistic now. Now, in a situation like Inter, I'm pretty sure someone who is experienced would have taken Inter right now because the circumstances are much different. And what I'm trying to say is that when the next manager comes in, if that was the case, look what you get. A guy like Lukaku, Martinez. You're getting a team that is already developed and has talent plus youth. There's a blend here, and any manager would be happy to ride out with Lukaku and work around him probably because they've seen what he's been able to do with Conte. So I don't see why the next manager would not want Lukaku in his plans. And you also have Beppe Marotta, who basically designed this team and has been the brains behind it, who brought in Barella, who brought in Lukaku, who brought in, I don't know, Sensi, all these players, Bastone, and look what he's creating. He's creating the Inter dynasty, or whatever you want to call it right now, as what he did with Juventus. So I just don't see Conte leaving, especially if they win the Scudetto. Like, that was the goal. I hate when that doesn't happen there. I hate when people say that, oh, it's all failed because Conte never won anything yet. For me, it's winning a Scudetto is the most important thing. And there are teams in the last decade who still haven't been able to do that because of Juventus. And for Inter to win that is like, that's the prime goal. How many managers have they gone through in the last, 5-6 years where they haven't really done anything for this team? And then Conte comes in after 2 years, has a foundation, has these young players like Barella, have strived in 2 years compared to what he was doing where was he at? Genoa, right? Was it Genoa he was at before?
Cagliari.
Cagliari. And I just think that everything's working well, and the EPL, the British tabloid, whatever they want to call them, they're all stupid because they think that their teams get. I'm a Chelsea fan only by being there watching the game for my honeymoon, or else I couldn't care less about the EPL. I'll be honest, and I think that Chelsea gets too much like media tabloid. We get first dibs on every player. We're linked to everyone. They've
been such big spenders. I mean, look at the transfer window that they had last summer. I mean, after a window like that, your fans start to believe we can buy anybody, anytime, anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me sick. Now that I got to hear Haaland, and like I'm happy that Chelsea's been able to get these players, but at the same time, it's such a disadvantage for so many other teams that I don't know how it's done. What happened to FFP? Like, how are they able to buy all these players? Like, I don't get it, man. Like, is there a formula where I'm just not understanding?
Well, the formula would be they're finding some way to show a positive balance sheet. I mean, I know that the revenue in the Premier League is considerably higher with their TV contracts, but still, and also let's not remember what the summer before that they had a transfer ban, so they were able to like store up some of those funds and just go wild the following summer. So I guess it worked. I mean, if they were in, of course, I'm sure that there are some squads. I'm thinking of the PSGs and the Man Cities of the world who can find ways to circumvent FFP. But if Chelsea were, blatantly violating that, I think we would know at this point. So they must be doing something right.
Yeah. Oh, well, it is what it is, I guess, right?
So how excited are we, guys? We're still, God, I'm acting like it's right around the corner. We're still 5 days away from Serie A. football being back. I'm actually one of the few people who doesn't mind international breaks because I tend to do pretty well betting on my system is I bet on the teams that I've heard of against the countries most people haven't heard of, and I tend to do pretty well with that during international breaks. So I'm 6-1 on my bets in the last week, which is a lot better than I fared during club competitions, but I'm still excited for the Serie A to be back. Looks like everybody's going to be in action on Saturday this week. Jerry, I'll start with you, as it feels like for Lazio, every game here on out is a final. I mean, every point is so precious for your team. You have Spezia at home. Any expectation for this one? Vincenzo Italiano's side is not always an easy out.
No, it's not. And I was actually writing a match preview today, and you know what? They managed to beat teams, no disrespect, against Milan, Napoli, and they're a side that you can't take lightly. You don't know what you can get out of them on a certain week. One week they look very poor, putrid, however you want to say it. But then the next 2 weeks, they look like stars. Like they're able to just put in a good, complete performance. I watched the game versus Cagliari before the international break, and I thought that they played very well. And there isn't ever a player that is just wow to me. It's all of them that are wow. Maggiore has been great this year. I think that he's been one of my favorite Spezia players. He does the little things. He works really hard, wins challenges. Those are the things I noticed from him. Ricci's been another good player. Pobega just came back from injury, so that's a big boost for Spezia. And on the Lazio end, I guess they're a little lucky because Korea didn't go on international break because Argentina's not playing due to they're not certain. I think South American teams are not playing. I saw that a lot of games are suspended. Yeah. And then Caicedo just came back from injury. Apparently he's fit to play for Saturday. So there are some encouraging things to see where, Richard Caicedo greater than Immobile, but I don't see your Caicedo jersey yet, but
it's in the mail.
You know what? At the end of the day, every game is a do or die for Lazio now. With I think 12 games left, 11 games left, and I didn't even know they made the schedule. By the way, I actually checked the other day and I saw that they released the next 6 games, and I saw Lazio plays Milan on a Monday.
Oh, really? Wow, that's gonna be a good one.
I don't remember the last time Lazio played at home on a Monday. I think I got to go back to the 2017-18 season when they played Inter.
Even work at the Olimpico? That might be why you guys play at 6 in the morning every week. I'm not even sure if they have working lights in that stadium.
I have no idea either, man. I was shocked that we're playing Milan on a Monday, though.
They seem to work when Roma plays.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see what happens.
The electric bill and Jerry's guys.
And you know what? This is the first time I've ever actually cared about international break. I don't know why. I think it's because the games finally have significance, and I don't have to watch international friendlies.
Oh, I
hate
those.
Meaningless garbage that I have to watch. Scores! Woo!
Oilers?
International friendlies for you.
Are they leading, Jerry? I don't have the game down here in Florida. Are they winning?
It's over.
It's over? Do they win? Cha-ching.
You knew that if you missed one at one end, you're probably going to have to deal with another one.
I wasn't even paying attention. I got so sucked into this Lazio conversation.
I'm sorry to distract you with the show.
Oh, my God. I looked up and I see a goal. I was like, wait a second. It is, hold on. It is McDavid to Darnell Nurse scores.
Love it.
Well,
I think this is historic, guys. This is the 5th time this season I've bet on the Edmonton Oilers. And I was 0-4 before tonight. And I started doing it just to piss off Barry because every time I bet on the Oilers, they lose.
Are we doing a podcast, or are we just going to get Are we doing a podcast, or are we just getting the audio of Hockey Night in Canada?
Are we going to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins now? This is NHL podcast.
When it comes to the Oilers, I'm very passionate. Sorry, man. I'm so passionate. But other than Lazio, that's how I normally celebrate when it's Lazio. I got glasses flying in the air, maybe if it was in a restaurant. I remember one time I went to a bar. Hold on. I remember one time I went to this bar called Wags, and it was LA Lakers versus the Celtics, Game 7. and this guy with blue pants was like doing celebrations. It was crazy. It was like a sold out place. I ended up going on top of a table and they started chanting, going nuts, because the Lakers had won Game 7 and Kobe had won a championship. And that was the year where
game. Yeah,
it was the year where he had like a serious injury, and I forgot who the other guy who also had like an ACL injury or something like that. He just came back. Forgot what his name was, but it was, yeah. I'm not sure. It was a young player, but yeah, I go nuts, man, at these kind of games, man. You have to.
Richard, they're breaking away to give us hockey updates live on their podcast. We just read funny Calcio tweets.
We got to step it up.
We got to step up our game, man.
You got to. Hey, but
do
I
live
do want
tweets.
to, before we wrap up this episode, I do want Richard and Frank to help us on a little bit of a Milan deep dive, because obviously,
Sure.
Milan are not, they're not out of the Scudetto race. I've got to make sure I say that to avoid any sort of an interjinx. I'm not counting Milan out, and obviously the most important objective for the Rossoneri is top 4, and they're very much on track for that at this moment. But they do have to keep their form, for the final 10 match days here. So, Richard, how are you feeling? It's been a couple weeks since you've watched the Rossoneri play. They've got a home match against Sampdoria, which can sometimes be tricky. Milan have not had the best home form since the calendar turned over. So, how are you feeling about this game?
They've had not the best form, period, right? In general, it's difficult. Despite what you just said before, it is Inter's Scudetto. Maybe I'm trying to jinx them. Who knows?
I don't believe that. I think we'll be lucky to make fourth. And I'm just top saying could show up at any time.
It's going to be difficult against Samp. I think it always is for Milan. It seems as of late. And they don't, when they were on this magnificent winning streak or unbeaten streak, you always knew that they had a way to get back into the game no matter what happens, whether they go down 2-0 in a game or whatever. I don't have that feeling anymore, and it's difficult. And Milan has to play much better than they have been. Even when they've won recently, it's been ugly. I expect them to win the game, but it's going to be closer. I wouldn't be surprised to see a penalty in the game. Deserved, but still, I think Sampdoria pose several challenges to Milan. They do have some attacking talent. Their goalkeeper is pretty decent. Ranieri finds ways that that he's a tinkerman, right? He finds ways to tinker his lineups and adjust to the opposition's strength. So I think it'll be a lot closer than it should be. It'll be a 1-goal difference for this. I don't see Milan blowing them out or Sampdoria blowing anybody out. I think it'll be a very close game, but Milan need to find ways to get wins in rows, right? They've been very poor as of late. They got a little bit of a gap now between them and Juventus and Atalanta, but they need to continue that pressure on, right? They need to get wins, try to keep pace with Inter if they have any hopes of the Scudetto. Not that I have any hopes for them. And the ultimate goal, as you said, top 4. So start with Sampdoria, get some wins on your belt and get that mojo back, because they certainly lost it.
I guess my hope would be that Antonio Candreva, Keita Baldi, that they're still Interisti at heart and they can put in a masterclass performance.
Always happens.
Well, it certainly happens when they play against Inter. they both scored in that 2-1 victory they had over Inter the first half of the season. Both of them scored in that game, of course. But Frank, how do you feel about this matchup? How tricky might this one be for Milan?
I think that if they keep their concentration, Milan should be fine, because Sampdoria's game is crossing, and they cross from everywhere. And if the center back pairing can, account for strikers like Quagliarella, they'll be fine. But the slightest slip, the slightest lapse in concentration, some stuff like that is where goals can get conceded. And in the run of losses or in the run of poor form for Milan, you've seen lots of lapses in concentration from them. The Napoli game, we had Rafa on a couple of weeks ago, and we ironed that out to a T as to where all the breakdowns happen on the goal that they conceded. So that's a bit concerning. But if you know what you're up against, and Pioli has 2 weeks to get ready for this game, I feel good about Milan's prospects for coming away with the 3 points. I think it's going to be narrow, as Richard alluded to.
Yeah.
But the run-in overall, top 4 is the goal. The run-in overall concerns me because you have Lazio, Juve, and Atalanta are all away. And I know in the time of COVID, you don't have big crowds that you're playing up against or anything like that, but it's still a different itinerary when you have to travel to play a game versus, being able to sleep in your own bed, the night before a game. So, so those things definitely factor into it. And all three of those are vying for top four, and it's going to be vital that Milan get points out of those three games, but it's going to be even more vital that they get as many of the 21 points available to them in the rest of their games. Samp at home, Parma away, Genoa at home, Sassuolo at home, Benevento at home, at Torino, Cagliari at home. I mean, there's no reason why they can't come away winning all of those games, which 21 points would certainly be more than enough for them to comfortably finish top four.
Absolutely.
But if they can just take care of business and win all of those games, these three big away games aren't going to matter. But if they start having some slip-ups, for some reason they just can't. Genoa has shithoused everybody since Ballerini has taken over. If they can't score on Genoa and Genoa just, sucker punches them for one the other way, that's something that you have to be concerned about. I think Benevento's starting to fall apart a little bit. Parma can't hold on to a lead. So there's lots of points here that Milan can grab. They've got to go out and grab them and make those three tough away matches, less important as in terms of their prospects of finishing top four as time goes on.
Well said. Well, listen, I want to give you guys the opportunity to promote what you're doing, and listen. Hopefully, everyone listening to this already knows about you guys. I know we certainly have a lot of friends and fans in common, which is awesome. But for those who don't, you got to make sure you check out the Serie A Sitdown. They do live shows on Tuesdays, and of course, you can catch the podcast replays. I hope you guys are not insulted that I usually can't watch live, but I do always listen to you guys on Wednesdays during my commute home if I can't be on the live feed. So it is a must do for me, and my commute is very long. So shows like yours are much appreciated when I'm driving an hour and 20 minutes through South Florida traffic on my way home. And even in the times of a lingering pandemic, traffic is still very much a thing down here. So Frank Crivello and Richard Kharman. Richard, I'll start with you, man. And if you want to do the honors of plugging the pod and also plugging your own personal social media, where you do a great job.
Sure. My social media is right. The handle's right there at R underscore
only too
at R underscore KHARMAN. Yeah, the podcast definitely Serie A Sitdown on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find us anywhere. Find us on YouTube as well. We not only do the podcast live there, but we also try to put out videos every so often. We're going to try to crank out more and more videos there. Different content for the Serie A fan, and please do subscribe, leave comments, because that would be much appreciated. But definitely give us a check out. You may like us, you may not, but give us a check out either way.
Awesome. And Frank, if people want to catch you on social media, where can they find you?
FTC_21 on Twitter. We have our own channel on Serie A Sitdown does on Apple Podcasts and on SoundCloud, and we're also on Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and anywhere where there's podcasts. There's Serie A Sitdown. We like to call ourselves a recap show on steroids. Where we break down everything that happened on the previous match day. We give our goals of the week. We try to get ahead of the curve on players that people should be watching out for. We, give a little love to the bottom half teams that most of the other podcasts out there, focus their attention mainly on the top six. So that's something that we take some pride in, and really getting a good feel for what those teams do. Who Won Calcio Twitter. It's a
great segment. I love it.
It's become a phenomenon. We saw one guy come out with something, and we said we're going to use this, and we're going to just start this, and it's taken off like gangbusters.
Does anybody have more titles than Sharma? Like he is the master of Who Won Calcio Twitter.
It's actually kind of interesting. I think Inter Twitter, if we looked at and Richard's got to go back and do all of this and add up all the totals, but Inter Twitter, to your delight, is the clubhouse leader for wins.
Yeah.
Perisnich,
Uncle Sharma,
Perisnich, Forza Inter Haiti.
Yeah.
All of those guys have been on the board. What's
what
that?
happens is when you cheer for such a crazy club, you have to develop a sense of humor as a coping mechanism. You cannot be an Interista without a sense of humor. It's like rare, and there are a few idiots in every fan base, but most of the real Interisti don't talk a whole lot of shit if it's not in a self-deprecating way. There are, of course, exceptions to that rule. I know people will call me out and say, "Well, this guy and that guy talk a lot of shit." Yeah, obviously, but.
Makes it perfectly reasonable that Roma Twitter is second in all probability.
It's true.
So,
Tweet of the year last year.
Zaniolo_fan, who I don't even think is on Twitter anymore. I tried looking him up the other day, and I don't know if
he got banned or something.
He got,
he got our prize and quit.
Conflicting reports. He either got, and I enjoyed him a lot. Maybe he said a few controversial things.
No,
but,
fuck that guy. He's a fucking guy.
Yeah, he either got banned or claimed he resigned from Twitter willingly. But I think that's one of those things where he was trying to save his pride. I don't know what really happened there.
That guy's a fucking douchebag. Screw that. I called him out a few times. I've actually called him I've called him out like 3 or 4 times. Never responded to me. Can't handle the Lazio heat, man.
Oh, his Calcio Twitter win last year. His Calcio Twitter win last year was gold, though.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Oh, I can't tweet for shit, man. I'll be honest. I'm the worst tweeter, man.
Well, your Nutella tweets to me are worth it. Like that makes the app worthwhile for me. I would have quit.
And it's Tim Horton ones too.
I learned last week not to like insult Ronaldo anymore. I insulted him like 3 times.
Well, I've insulted him a bunch. Nobody comes after me.
Guys, did you see how Jerry sold his soul? Jerry sold his soul. Jerry, after that goal that Ronaldo was robbed of against Serbia, Jerry wrote out this long tweet basically praising Ronaldo, and he sold his soul for 3,500 likes because it started to get passed around like a blunt with all the Ronaldo fanboys and girls. He got retweeted. What was the final count? Like 5,000 retweets?
Okay, all it was Portugal was robbed of a win. I thought they were robbed. Wowzers. Yeah. Cristiano Ronaldo has every reason for being upset. I don't blame him. I didn't blame him for being upset, but at the same time, I never touched upon him throwing his armband, which is a whole delicate, separate situation. I agree with his emotion, but I don't agree with the armband. But if I was that person, I wouldn't want to contradict because I would be the same way too, being upset. Now, what did it get me? 3.6K likes. I can't believe how the Ronaldo club loved this tweet so much. It got 372 tweets. I've never seen anything like this.
You want to go viral again? How about you quote that tweet and then say, "Just kidding, Ronaldo sucks," and see how many more likes you get for that.
Then the Messi fans will give him.
Yes, you'll get the Messi fans. Yeah. Messi, the true GOAT.
So Jerry,
I should do that actually.
Jerry, why don't you plug your stuff as well? Of course, people can see your Twitter handle, JMancini8, and you're always writing, bro. You write for like 11 different sites. I can't keep track. Yeah. Now, on your social media, you post everything, which is good, but why don't you let the people know what to expect and where they can find you and all that?
Actually, last week I didn't write at all. I think
really? What the fuck?
Well, because the clubs aren't playing would be why, probably, right?
Oh yeah, that's why I love international break because I get off. Like I don't do anything. I just watch these teams and that's it. Just writing for Laziale, I wrote a piece on what Immobile's goal can mean for him for team and club, and wrote the match preview for Saturday's game between Lazio and Spezia. And I do plan on writing a piece about if Lazio should sell that shitty Mariki this summer, because let's get something straight, guys. He scored for Kosovo against Lithuania. Don't think he's God. Don't think he's the best thing in the world. The guy's feet are made of cement. I honestly thought that he was going to be a good player once he started to score some goals against Parma, against Atalanta. Then everything came back to life, and I realized how shit he was against. So he's not cut for Serie A. I know people compare him to Caicedo and how Caicedo wasn't good in his first year. Here's the difference. Caicedo actually played in better leagues. He played in La Liga, and I forgot where else he played before that. It was another good league as well. No disrespect, but the Turkish league is not on the same scale level, I find, compared to like La Liga, Serie A, EPL, even Ligue 1. I'll say there are some good teams in Ligue 1 that have some good talent.
Yeah, but the thing that you got to be careful with is that, and Richard and I have talked about this a ton on Serie A Sitdown. Anytime somebody comes over to Serie A from another league, and it can even be the Premier League or La Liga, there is it's very, very rare to see a player just hit the ground running and excel like Lukaku did in his first season at Inter.
Right.
Okay, it's far more common for that year to be an adaptation period. There's so many different things that, and especially a player like Mariki who's coming over from the Turkish league to the Italian league, where it's far more tactical, far more stringent, even with all of the goals that get scored. There's a culture, there's learning the language. Okay, there's learning the nuances of how a team plays. There's a lot that goes on, and it's what Hauga ran into at Milan. Where he had some fits and spurts, but overall it's been a struggle for him. He's coming over from the Norwegian league and all of a sudden being asked to perform at a high level in Serie A. A lot of these guys coming over from these smaller leagues, they need a year, Keisuke Honda was probably one of the ones that learned the hard way. He came in and he sucked and he just stayed that way because he never adapted. He never adapted to the demands that Serie A brings. So I always try to, year one, and even Aiden Dzeko, he came over and he struggled at Roma year one. Year two, he was Capocannoniere. So there's always an adaptation period, no matter how good you might have been somewhere else. That more often than not, you're going to have to go through in Serie A. There's not a lot of Lukakus who just come in and all of a sudden start bossing things.
Well, really good insight. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point.
I think the problem is that Lazio's not a big club like the other top 6 clubs.
Yeah,
I guess they're big in their own way, but technically we're not big. We're 20 million. You want to see results, and you can't be like Milan, Inter, or Juventus saying, okay, maybe next year that 20 million will pay off. It's really risky for Lazio.
I don't know. I think that works both ways, though, because if he was on a quote-unquote bigger club, he'd probably have a shorter leash. To be honest, I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But either way, I think Frank is right about the adaptation. That you still have to be a little bit more patient. But listen, guys, I had a lot of fun, and everybody, by the way, you can find me at Alex Donno on Twitter. Donno spelled Donno. Check out, North American sports fans can check me out 3 to 6 p.m. every day on OnsideRadio.com. And we get the crew. I still have to get Richard. I got to get you on the show sometime soon because I've had Frank on several times. Jerry has been on. I got to get Richard on. We got to do a deep dive on Weston McKennie because I know I try to get the ratings with the American soccer fans.
Okay.
People know, like the people who actually know me know that I barely give a shit about the U.S. men's national team. I'm all about the Azzurri. But as far as my American audience knows, I'm just draped in the American flag 24 hours a day with the U.S. MNT. So we'll have to have Richard on sometime soon. So listen, I had a lot of fun, guys. Thanks everyone for listening. Thank you for chatting. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you can check us out on every podcast platform. You can find the Calcio Connection on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Google Pods. Pretty much anywhere you look, you'll find us there. And for those who are listening on the podcast, you can also watch the shows live and replays on YouTube, and check out our new Patreon page as well. We appreciate any subscribers. We just launched it a few days ago, so we're trying to see how much unique content we can create. So huge thanks again to Frank Crivello and Richard Kharman. Make sure you guys check them out on Tuesdays. We will talk to you guys again next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.